In the summer of 1914, Europe was gripped by a strange disbelief. War seemed unthinkable, until it wasn't. Headlines erupted with ultimatums and mobilizations. Crowds cheered, swept up in patriotic fervor, blind to the disaster ahead. Leaders and generals, caught in their own momentum, became sleepwalkers heading toward catastrophe. An assassination in Sarajevo, barely noticed at first, triggered a chain reaction. Within weeks, millions were called to arms. Train timetables, not diplomacy, dictated the pace. Each nation believed in its own righteousness and a swift victory. The momentum was terrifying. Pride and fear locked nations into conflict. There was no turning back. Barbara Tuchman captures this descent into chaos, showing how arrogance and miscalculation led to disaster. She reveals a world teetering on the brink, where every decision seemed logical, yet together they spelled madness. A generation was about to be sacrificed for national honor and flawed strategy. In Paris, Berlin, and London, war was met with celebration. Young men rushed to enlist, afraid to miss the glory. They marched off with flowers in their rifles, promising to return as heroes. No one foresaw the mud, the trenches, or the industrial slaughter to come. Tuchman contrasts the initial euphoria with the grim reality that followed. The guns of August didn't just fire at soldiers, they shattered an entire way of life, ushering in an age of unprecedented violence. Why revisit August 1914? Because as a timeless warning, Tuchman's story is a study in how great powers can stumble into catastrophe through ego, miscommunication, and unstoppable momentum. The world has changed, but human nature, its wisdom and folly, remains the same. The book warns of the dangers of rigid thinking. In 1914, generals clung to inflexible plans that, once set in motion, couldn't be stopped. Today, with automated systems and cyber warfare, the risk of runaway escalation is even greater. Tuchman shows how miscommunication and misunderstanding can spiral into disaster. Each side thought it was acting defensively, but suspicion fueled aggression. Clear communication and empathy are essential to prevent conflict, a lesson still urgent today. The story is also about flawed individuals, Kaiser Wilhelm, Tsar Nicholas, and others whose personal failings shaped history. Their choices, not abstract forces, caused the war. By studying their mistakes, we see the immense responsibility leaders bear. The lessons of 1914 are as vital now as ever. Wisdom, humility, and foresight are the only safeguards in a crisis. To grasp August 1914, you must understand the world before it. Europe's was an age of progress and culture, but beneath the surface, tensions simmered. Nationalism, economic rivalry, and an arms race. Alliances split the continent into two armed camps: the Triple Alliance of Germany, Austria-Hungary, and Italy, and the Triple Entente of France, Russia, and Britain. These alliances, meant to deter war, created a tripwire. Any conflict could drag all of Europe into battle. Imperial ambitions fueled suspicion. Germany's quest for colonies and a powerful navy threatened Britain and France. The naval arms race poisoned relations, making diplomacy nearly impossible. The Balkans, the powder keg of Europe, added volatility. As the Ottoman Empire weakened, new nations vied for power, and Austria-Hungary feared Slavic nationalism. Russia backed Serbia, creating a flashpoint where a local conflict could ignite a global war. It was in this troubled region that the fatal spark would be struck. The lead-up to World War I was, in part, a family affair. King George V of Britain, Kaiser Wilhelm II of Germany, and Tsar Nicholas II of Russia were cousins. Despite their personal ties, they couldn't prevent disaster. Kaiser Wilhelm, intelligent but impulsive, craved respect for Germany, and pursued aggressive policies, including a massive navy and unconditional support for Austria-Hungary. Tsar Nicholas, gentle but indecisive, felt compelled to protect Serbia. His order to mobilize Russia's army was seen by Germany as an act of war. King George, with little direct power, symbolized Britain's ambiguous stance until Germany invaded Belgium. The invasion united Britain and brought it into the war. Family bonds snapped under the weight of national interests and rigid alliances. The personal flaws and rivalries of these rulers helped set the world on a path to catastrophe. The cousins' failure was Europe's tragedy. The spark was struck on June 28, 1914, in Sarajevo. Archduke Franz Ferdinand and his wife were assassinated by Gavrilo Princip, a Serbian nationalist. Austria-Hungary, determined to crush Serbia, sought Germany's backing. The infamous blank check emboldened Austria to issue an ultimatum designed to be rejected. The July crisis followed, a frantic scramble of telegrams and failed diplomacy. Serbia accepted most demands, but Austria declared war anyway. Russia, seeing itself as Serbia's protector, mobilized its army. Germany, fearing encirclement, activated its own war plans. The Schlieffen Plan demanded speed. Germany declared war on Russia, then France. The dominoes fell rapidly, pulling all of Europe into conflict. Each step seemed logical to those involved, but together they created unstoppable momentum. The war was not inevitable, until it was. The assassination was the spark, but the real cause was a system primed for disaster. In days, Europe plunged from peace to Armageddon. The world would never be the same. Germany's war plan, the Schlieffen Plan, was a gamble of breathtaking risk. It called for a massive sweep through Belgium into France, aiming to crush the French army in weeks before turning east to face Russia. The plan's rigid timetable left no room for diplomacy or delay. Once mobilization began, the invasion was unstoppable. Violating Belgian neutrality, Germany dismissed treaties as scraps of paper, betting Britain wouldn't intervene. The Belgians resisted fiercely, slowing the German advance and buying time for France and Britain. Outrage over Belgium's invasion brought Britain into the war. The Schlieffen Plan failed to deliver a quick victory and instead expanded the conflict. Germany's gamble had backfired, uniting its enemies and dooming Europe to a wider war. The war's scope and brutality were set in motion by this single fateful decision. The world watched as the Western Front descended into chaos. The gamble for swift victory became a nightmare of attrition. In August 1914, everyone believed the war would be short, over by Christmas. Recent wars had been swift, and no one imagined modern economies could sustain a long conflict. Romantic visions of cavalry charges and quick victories blinded leaders and the public alike. The reality was brutal. New technologies, machine guns, artillery, barbed wire, gave defenders a deadly advantage. The first battles shattered illusions. French offensives were slaughtered, and the Russians suffered disaster at Tannenberg. The Schlieffen Plan's failure ended hopes for a quick win. The miracle of the Marne halted the Germans near Paris, forcing both sides to dig trenches. The war of movement ended. A stalemate began. The Western Front became a line of misery from Switzerland to the North Sea. The myth of a short war died in the mud and blood of 1914. The first month of war shattered illusions and set the stage for 4 years of carnage. Trench warfare became the defining horror of the Western Front. The war destroyed empires, redrew borders, and bankrupted nations. The human cost was staggering, a lost generation and a scarred society. The seeds of future conflict were sown. The Treaty of Versailles bred resentment, and the Russian Revolution reshaped the world. World War I was not the war to end all wars, but the original catastrophe of the 20th century. Tuchman's is a cautionary tale about how flawed leaders and rigid systems can unleash disaster. Its lessons, about diplomacy, empathy, and the dangers of arrogance, remain urgent warnings for our own time.